welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm Harmony, and today I was asked to talk about full vinyasa practice and some reasons why it was done, maybe why it wasn't done, why it isn't done anymore. So for those of you who don't know what a full vinyasa practice looks like, I made a fast motion video for you, and you can take a look at it now. So as you can see, I started making the video after the standing postures, so there's only seated and closing because the full vinyasa practice doesn't really change the standing postures very much. When I first started practicing, one of my very first teachers that I ever learned from was Lucy Motorella. That is, maybe some of you know Matt Crigliano, his mother. She lives in Hawaii, and she came and taught some Mysore classes here in my city, and she was a guest teacher, and she taught full vinyasa Ashtanga yoga practice. So when I was in my early 20s, that's actually how I used to practice. I liked practicing full vinyasa, and there's some benefits to it. You get really strong. You're doing double the amount of push-ups in chaturanga dandasanas. Also, there's something really nice about coming back to Samasthiti and like resetting before you move on to the next thing, having that moment of stillness. In intermediate series, I found it very helpful. I have scoliosis, so I found coming back up to Samasthiti and back up to the standing posture and going through that full vinyasa or full sun salutation motion in between the back bends was extremely beneficial for helping to ease some of the back pain when I was first learning intermediate series. But after some time, it got a little bit laborsome. It makes the practice longer, of course, and also it makes the practice quite aerobic. So it's really intense kind of practice to keep up with over a long period of time. Some people love it, but when I was in Mysore, many people asked Pattabhi Jois and asked Sharat Jois why they no longer taught full vinyasa style, and Pattabhi Jois would say, oh, it's too hard on the heart. And Sharat has also said the same thing, that it gets the heart rate up too much, that then the practice isn't as effective. It's more like aerobics or some kind of aerobic activity, and that's not really what the purpose of yoga is for. It's not supposed to be an aerobic activity. Also, Sharat's mentioned that it's quite hard on the shoulders and the elbows and even the wrists, so on the joints, because of so many chaturanga dandasanas. And personally, that's what I found. I started to develop quite some severe tendonitis in my elbow, which continues to haunt me through the rest of my Ashtanga career, off and on. But we all have our weak spots. But if your weak spot happens to be in the shoulders or the elbows or the wrists, you might want to avoid the full vinyasa style of practice, or at least if you're attempting it, be very, very mindful and practice very slowly so that you're not just jamming yourself in and out of positions. So it's not taught anymore, I think, for those reasons. that I mentioned, that were mentioned to me. And also because it takes so long, and there's so many more students now coming to practice in my source, India, it really just would mean that they were teaching all day from 4 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. So we need to keep it a little shorter. So there are some benefits. I think you get a lot more stamina, you develop a lot of strength. I think it's really helpful if you're experiencing a lot of back pain when you're learning intermediate series to keep coming back up to the standing position and get those extra forward bends in the forward fold of the full vinyasa method. But there are also some drawbacks. It could be hard on your joints, especially the shoulders, the elbows, and the wrists. It could get your heart rate kind of going up too much, which kind of defeats the purpose of connecting to the parasympathetic nervous system, doing the yoga practice, and maybe it interferes slightly with the little bit of meditative quality, or the less sort of aggressive kind of quality of practice. It's quite intense and it's quite strong. And so if you tend to practice with a bit of like aggression or a bit of excess energy already, this probably will double that. If you tend to be a bit lazier, and now I tend to like avoid vinyasas as much as possible, it might be a good idea for me to go back and start practicing full vinyasas so that I can get my energy up and like overcome that tamas, that heaviness and that lethargy. So I think it can be useful to use from time to time. I personally wouldn't recommend doing it all the time. I think it's quite intense to maintain as a daily practice, but I think it can be a useful tool to have in your back pocket for some experimentation. And maybe some days, if you're feeling like you just need a good kick in the butt, you can pull out those full vinyasas and really go for it. And then also, as I mentioned, learning intermediate series, it can be quite helpful. So that's my take on the full vinyasas and what I know about it. I'm sure other people know a lot more than me, but you're getting my take, and it's Wednesday. So have a wonderful week. Thanks for tuning in.